Hey, what's up everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a very exciting tutorial because it is a highly anticipated and requested tutorial about Substance Designer. I won't be covering Substance Painter, which is similar to Mari, but I will be covering the Substance Designer, which is a procedural software to generate textures for high quality displacement maps, bump maps, surface detail, and you can actually tile those maps to create the most realistic look. It will be a two-part tutorial. The first part will be designer, and the second part will be the Maya Arnold integration. And as you have followed my Twitter, maybe this is the result which we will be creating. Like you can see, it is made out of three different shaders materials. One is like this coating, the red paint, then you have this brass, and then you have this alloy metal. I went out and shot some reference images, which are these. And was a wet, rainy day, so you can see all these shiny reflections on it, which we don't have. But I think it is pretty close, and this is showing you the technique, what I used, and and I will show you how you can create that as well. The model was done by Alec Drake. He's a patron of mine, and I asked him if he could sponsor me this model, and he gladly did. And it's a pretty good looking model with nice details, and it's UV mapped on one tile, so Substance Designer is happy. I will provide the model and these reference images in my Patron reward scheme. So if you want to get the source materials, you can easily access those if you get this reward, and you will always get all the contents for all the upcoming tutorials or recent tutorials. So this won't be just for one, it will be for all my future tutorials if you are a patron of mine. So Substance Designer, where we have a video down here. It's just like a recap if you don't know what it is. It produces procedural textures. As you can see, you get all these nice different maps. You can crop them and you can actually tile them, and it's very interesting, very good, and very detailed maps. So let's jump right into Substance Designer, which is a default. This is the default landing page, and I will just create a new graph. And what I like to do, different people work in different ways. What I like to do is have a graph for each shader type or layer, whatever you want to call it. So for this video, I will be creating three different ones, which is paint, brass, and alloy. So let's first start with the paint. Let's make it capital. And I guess different people work in different ways. You've got different models, like you've got metallic roughness, physically based, so it's PBR metallic roughness. You've got a specular based one, and I don't know, you've got lots of different other ones. And Arnold likes to work with metallic roughness, so that's the one which I will be using. And you can have a size mode, which is like a size how the textures are being generated. So if it's relative to the parent, there's like a main size, and it will be represented by that value. These are your default maps. Height map is used in real-time engines. It's kind of a displacement map, and you can use this one as a displacement map too. So this is how it's looking. A default graph, and then down below is my real-time, and on the right side is my 2D planar texture. And this is the parent size at the top here, and here you can actually define the texture resolution. But anyways, let's get to it. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to save the package. So I right click, or just Control S, which will right click here and say save as, which will want to save the package, I guess. So let's just create, I have already a folder structure, substance right here. This is my test. So let's just call this hydrant and then underscore training. And this is now my main package. And then below this package, we have the graphs. So on the package, I right click and I want to link a 3D mesh. This is how you import your custom meshes. And then in my top folder under resources, I've got the hydrant OBJ. This is my raw one, and I had to change the UV slightly just to make it seamless. So it's in data hydrant. So I just did some unwrapping in Maya beforehand. So this should load in the model under resources, and in here you can actually just drag the model into the live view and it gets updated. And you can see this is my hydrant model, which looks pretty good. You get these nice fonts in here, and all the different parts are there as well. Okay, I didn't want to do that. Okay. So the first step, what we need to do is generate geometric maps. What that means is like it's an occlusion, it's a surface curvature map, it's normal maps, it's an ID map. So that's the first thing I mostly do. So to do that, you right click on the mesh, which is in your library, and you say bake model information. And this is, you can add your different types of maps you want to bake out, and these are used for these smart shaders. That's how they call it. So I want to create occlusion. I want to have curvature, position, and wall space normals. And because I want to have different color IDs for the different objects, I would like to have export a ID map, which is separating the brass metal from the base metal. So this is what I did in Maya first. So I extracted two different types of geos, combined them, exported the OBJ with two different objects in it. And this is called color map from mesh. This is what I want to do. And I think mesh ID and hue shift is a good way to do that. Then the output size is important. So you need to think ahead now. So if you want to export just 1K, this is the resolution maximum you will get from these textures. So I like to go up to 4K for my geometric maps because this will be my final output resolution. So I will now start baking. First, I think you need to assign the high-res mesh in here. So in the color map, it needs a high detail mesh. So you can actually click this drop-down arrow from resource and choose the hydrant. And this should update it, and then you should get this check mark there. And then it's time to bake. So let's just hit the OK button and let's bake them out. After the baking, the maps show up in another drop-down folder inside of your library, inside the Explorer. So then you see these maps, and you can actually see that every map has been exported correctly. So what I then like to do, I like to drag all these maps in the graph, and then they should be added, and the thumbnails should be generated. And then, like in Nuke, I like to create it a bit organized. So I select them, right click, add a frame, call this one Geo, which is my geometric maps. And I like to just make it more visible color. I don't know, something more saturated, more alpha channel, something like this. So this is my, in 99%, this is my starting graph. So you can see occlusion is at the top. If I double click, and frame in here, you can see this is my baked out occlusion map. Then we have the curvature. This is my position. Then we have world normals, and we have my ID map. And the ID map represents the brass and the base. So that's the first step. And then you have your output map. So base color is your diffuse or your metal base color. Then you've got your normal for bump, roughness for shininess, metallic for metal or dielectrics, and height, which might be displacement for offline rendering, or a height map for unity based things. So the first graph, as you can see, is my paint, and the paint will be just the raw red paint, which is coated on top of everything. You can see it's on the sides here, it's over the alloy or whatever this metal is. So this is my topmost layer, which I like to start with. So the first thing is to nail this one, then create another material, which is the alloy, and then another one, which is the brass, and then we create another graph and combine them all back together. This is just for me, which makes the most sense, and some people work all in one graph to everything in one thing. So there are different ways of doing things. So let's start off with a base paint. So I kind of will work from scratch here, so I will do some trial and error and things like that. So the first thing is go into the library and see what we get actually. If we have some presets maybe which could work. What do we have? Okay, this is the rough paint. So what I like to do, I'll go to mask generators and I will just use this dirt map here. And this dirt map, as you can see, it wants to have some inputs. And what you can do, you can actually just drag those inputs here and it will create them. But there's another way, if I can quickly set this up, is a geometric map combiner. And you can find this in Mesh Data Combiner on the utility. So I'll use this one. And it has lots of inputs. So let's connect them up. So we have occlusion. Yes, let's connect occlusion. We've got curvature. We've got no height map. We have a position and color. RGB, there's a grayscale as well. And we have a color ID, which is this guy. And we have a world space normal. And let's disable all the other things which are listed here. So we don't want height. We don't want the grayscale. We don't want normal. And we don't want UV masks. And I show you the benefit of all this in a second. So if I can, there's UV mask false, world space direction, that's the one. Okay, so the benefit of this, you have these things here in this top menu where you can press 1, 2, 3, and this will combine your inputs and outputs into a mesh data single stream, so you don't need to connect them all up at once. So the cool thing is now, if I press 3 and I have the mesh data, I can just actually drag one arrow or one noodle and connect this to my dirt, and all the other ones get connected automatically, which is very helpful, and you don't need to connect them all up after each other. So this is a really big time saver, and I like to do that pretty often. The same thing goes to the outputs right here. So for a basic paint, what I like to do, I would like to go to, if I can find it quickly, it's always in a different position. So under material filters, there's PBR, the PBR utilities, and there's a base material, which I like to use. So this guy, you can actually expose the inputs, which I like to do. So this is a base material which connects up to your outputs. So this guy has the same effect at the bottom where you can have inputs, which I would like to use as well. But for now, I'll leave them disabled, and we just go up from here out into the output maps. So I press 3 so to combine them, and then I just drag this guy over, and you can see they automatically snap up and they get connected all at once. And then I can actually say, if I click in this empty canvas, and I can choose view outputs in 3D view, and everything which is now being generated from this base material is being output here in my live view. And if you want to see the environment in here, you can choose environment, edit, and make it visible true, and this is what you get. Here they have different environment maps here. I like to use the one in the city. I think is it this one? Let's see. Yeah, because it has a nice blue sky. I'm not sure if it's the one I used in my reference. But I think did I use this guy? No, I don't think so. I think I used it. Well, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to have something with a blue sky so it gets these nice blue reflections on the top. So this is what I have. So let's create first a rough paint. So the PB workflow is metal roughness, and we don't want to have any metallicity. So what you do, you just disable metallic to be off. So black, which means no metallic, and you can see there is no metallic contribution. So this is now a simple dielectric. So then what I like to do, I will open up my reference images, and I will want to pick the color. So the base color is with the color picker. I like to use something which is almost facing the camera. So I guess something, this is catching some specularity. So I don't know, I'll catch this color here, and let's see how it looks. It is maybe it needs to be a bit more saturated and a bit darker, I guess. So let's just play around with those values. So I'm saturating this a bit more, changing the hue slightly as well, just to get it a bit more in the red region. And you can see there's actually some very deep reds in here as well, and then there is some bleached out colors. So we will make that happen as well, because they have some nice smart masks, so we can do some bleaching from top down and stuff like that. So a bit more saturation, and let's for now disable the roughness, or just give it a slight value. So this is now what we currently have. Let's see, saturation a bit down, maybe a bit darker still. Yeah, I don't know, I think this kind of could work. And then you have your shininess to this. Right, so let's go something subtle like this. And then you have a grunge, like a grunge amount. This is like adding irregularities to the surface, and this is mostly contributing to the roughness, which gives a very nice, realistic looking effect. So right, so let's introduce some grunge. And you can see the roughness gets broken up. And we currently have a very low resolution, 256, so we don't see as much detail, but we have very fast feedback. So let's change the scale to maybe 1024, so we get higher resolution maps. It takes a while to compute this now, but you directly see a higher detail, very nice effect, which you get here directly. You can see all these breakups, so that's pretty cool. We have the electric. Well, we actually have some presets which I did not know. And then you have grunge tiling, and you can actually add a custom grunge map, a custom input for this kind of thing. So this is now what we have so far, my base material. And then we have this dirt thing. So the first thing what I want to do, I want to check the reference, and I want to see what's going on here. And you can actually see that there is, if I can zoom in properly, some occlusion happening here, so you get some dirt in those ridges, and then especially here, and then you get some brighter things. So let's try to mimic that. So what I want to do first is I will use this dirt map, and for this to be more organized, I like to create another frame and call this one mask, which will be my mask frame. And these masks will be used to blend all the other maps together. So mask goes up here. I like to be organized, as you might know already. So, and this guy goes up on top here. And so this is how it works. Let's just move this over here. And the base now has the option to create a custom input map. So let's create that. So user-defined maps, base color, true. And now we have a custom slot for the base color. And what I like to do, I create a custom color, like a uniform color, and then I create another frame, lots of frames, but it's worth it. So let's create this guy, add frame, and call this base color. And let's spread this guy out, and like this, and then this goes here, and then all the way back into this. All right, so the base color. Unfortunately, we don't have like a history as far as I know. So I will now do the same thing again by picking the color. Let's pick this guy here. And then we should get the same color down below. If I connect this up. And connect it up, and there we go. Now we have the same base color as well. So it might be definitely now too orange, so saturation higher. That's actually way better, and maybe a bit more of the red. So let's just hue shift this a bit. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Might not be exactly the same saturation, but for now let's just work with that. And now what we can do, actually, we can create another color. Let's just Control D this guy to create the same effect. And let's create a saturated version and a darker one and a different red tone maybe as well. That's pretty cool. So what we can do now, we can blend these two colors together using a default blend operation. The foreground, like if you select one, the main one, and then you create it, and then it will be connected up automatically, which is pretty convenient. So the foreground is the new color and the background is the original color. And then we can actually blend them together using this mask, which we just created. So, and the mask is this dirt one. And let's connect this guy up here. And now you can see what we got. We have this breakup, which works pretty cool already. And we can see the output in these maps, what we have generated. So it's a bit small, everything here. Let's just try to make this a bit more readable. Okay, so this is currently what we have. It's definitely, we need to go more orange. So this is now trial and error and working out how it works best. And obviously you can have way more control in these mask generators. So let's play around with the contrast of this mask. And double click this and you can see it in the 2D view and you can see what's going on. If you actually want to see this in the 3D view, you can right click and view in output in 3D view or view in 3D view and then choose it as a base color and then you can see what's going on here. So everything which is black I think goes to the top color, to the foreground. It might be now the other way around, but this is, let's just work with that. So increasing the grunge amount, which gives more freckles, and you can see the nice occlusion happening here, which is around these things or around the paint. So that's pretty cool. So let's increase the dirt level. Or let's decrease the dirt level. So this is like how you work. You just see what's going on, what sliders do what, how to many extent, and things like that. If you want to increase contrast, you get more defined shapes and lines. That's a contrast. So this is actually pretty cool. And let's see how it works again. So if you want to see the result, you click on the empty canvas and say V outputs in 3D view, and it gets updated. So that's pretty cool, right? So let's work with the roughness a bit more. We need to definitely have some roughness effect going on. So what we can do, we can use the same map to control the roughness as well. So we have the grunge from here, and we can actually use first a custom input for roughness. Let's do that. So we get another slot here, and then the roughness is to black, and so it's super shiny currently. And before we start, let's create another frame. Add a frame and make this bigger. This will be roughness. All caps, roughness. And increase alpha, different hue, just to differentiate them. And then what we can do, we can create a noise pattern, which is like different procedurals. And let's just use black and white spots. Double click, this is how they look. So let's just connect those up and we see what we get. This is actually pretty, this is similar as the other grunge map, which is working already pretty good. But what we can do now is we can blend them as well. So let's say we want the same happening, which is happening here at the top. So let's select this one, create a blend, and then create a levels node and hook up this guy, and then the foreground goes here. And this is now the more shiny one, which is the darker red. Let's just make this darker. So let's, always confusing. Let's just bring those guys down. Something, oh well, it might be way too much. Okay, so these are now connected. So this is a bit darker than this. We can actually brighten this one up if we need to, but for now, let's just leave it as it is and connect the same mask to the input to the blend node. So this is now what we got. So the red things are more shiny than the duller bleached tones which we have on these areas. So obviously I think it is way too shiny. So let's just bring back the roughness, and you can see it's happening on the fly here. So we get more roughness in those sections, and we can actually make this even rougher. And let's just roughen this guy up as well. So let's select it, create levels, and reconnect these guys up. There we go, and this is now my base, and I want to make this even rougher, like so. So it's pretty dull, and then we have a bit more shine where it's like kind of newer paint or something like that. And for the fun of it, let's create this bleached top color which I was talking about. So there's a mask generator. If I can find it, let's see. Sun bleach, there it is. So this guy goes into my mask slot. Keep saving, sometimes it crashes as well. And it wants mesh data, so I'll just use this guy and connect it up. And if you want to see these inputs, it's world normal space and occlusion. And you can directly see what's going on. So all the things which are facing the sun are white, and all the rest which is down are kind of black. So this is a remap version in the Y direction. So, and we want to use this to control the base color. So a sun bleach is mostly, it gets paler and maybe just the color shifts a tiny bit. So let's just use this base color, this orange, and first create another blend, like so. Connect this guy up as my background, and can I actually rip this guy off? No, I can't. So if you click here, you can, it's hooked to your pointer, and then you can just reconnect them up. And then you have another blend. This guy goes in here, and then you want another mask input, which is this one from the bottom. Click on the output and connect the mask input. And then we want to have, let's say, a kind of desaturated pale yellow color. So let's just move this guy over. Okay, I think this looks pretty pale. And now you can control the roughness with the same map, and then the base color. So let's connect this up with the base color, with the roughness map, sorry. So this is the blend, and let's just create another blend. And the same principle apply as on the top. So this guy goes in here, and then we duplicate the levels. They're connected, and then I want to make it more white, so it's more rough. Let's like this, and connect this guy up, and connect this guy. Okay, so now the top part is very rough, almost no speck anymore. So that's interesting. So now let's control the mask. So double click the mask, and then we can see what we want. So the level is how much sun happens. So if it's on almost 0, you can see it's only really the top facing things. And then there are also occluded parts which cast shadows, so it's not that crazy. And then you have the occlusion amount as well, which is controlling how much it is going around things. So you can see how much control you have. So let's bring in a bit more of these levels. I think this is pretty cool, just from the top down. And definitely it's a bit too strong. So what you can do now, you can actually control how much you want this to be contributing. So let's just select this guy and create levels after this. So now it goes through the levels node, and then we can control the maximum output color, which is the bottom slider here. So you can say, I don't want to have it fully white. And you can see it's now fading out. And then I can increase this a bit more, and you can see what's going on. So I kind of like this. Let's see what we have here. We have these paint freckles or something. We can add them for now, or we can just, what can we else do? Oh, we still need a little bit of a bump map. So let's just use, what should we use? This stuff, the roughness map? How does that look like? We can try using the roughness map to as a bump. Yeah, let's do that. So to do that, let's first create a new frame, which will be normal, and call this guy normal, more like this, and a bit of a hue shift. And what I like to use is a map called Sobel normal Sobel, which already has intensity sliders, and it doesn't have a alpha, what you would get with the normal map. So let's connect the output of the roughness into the normal. You can see what's going on. You get this nice detailed normal map, and this guy connects to this base material, which needs to get the normal slot. So we enable this, and let's connect these guys up. Let's try this again. I'm not sure why it doesn't like this. I don't know, now it connects, okay. And then we get a normal map on top here, definitely too strong. So let's bring this down. So you have the intensity right here. Let's just bring it really down to a very small amount. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool, and it looks like used paint. And then we can also add some occlusion, like dirt and ridges and stuff like that. So for now, let's check how it looks in iRay. iRay is a proper ray tracer. So you get physical shading right inside of Designer. And you can see the bump map is too strong. So let's just bring this down a bit more. Yeah, I think this looks more or less good. We can see these nice deep red colors, which we see here as well. And we see the bleached out yellow, which we see on top here. So this is working. Let's bring it back to OpenGL. Let's just try to add dirt in ridges and stuff like that. So let's see if we have something in here. Let's see what we can make use of. Light ground, dirt, edge dirt. We have used dirt already. We can try to use dust. Let's try dust as a new mask. And then mesh data connects here. I guess it's just occlusion. Oh, and it is normals actually as well. It might be that the dust is just top down. I don't know. So it is definitely in the ridges, which is very interesting. So let's try to make it like a greasy black, almost black dust, which is kind of dirt. So another blend, you can see it builds up with lots of blend nodes. So this goes here, and then we create a new color, which will be a dust. What I can show you actually a pretty cool trick, which will make it more realistic. So let's create a gradient instead, this guy. And the gradient needs an input color. So for the input color, let's just use a simple noise, a fractal, whatever we see in these noise patterns. We can try to go with clouds. It's just something to get some differentiation. So let's just use the cloud and connect up the cloud right here. And then let's just go into the World Wide Web and search for, well, dust will be pretty simple, I guess. Mostly one color. Yeah, but this is interesting, this guy here. Yeah, this will work. So I'm minimizing this, and in the gradient, if I double click, you have this option to gradient editor, and in this editor you can actually pick a gradient. So if I click that, I can click and drag over a certain area like this, and it creates me a nice pattern, as you can see here. So with this pattern, close this down, you can see what we get here, which is a very interesting noise or pattern or something like that. And let's just darken this with a levels node and bring down the whites. More contrast to this whole thing. Let's see if we actually have a color correct node, hue saturation. Let's try connect this guy up as well and desaturate it a bit. Not sure if, anyways, let's just see how this guy works. So this is now my base color dust or whatever. It's maybe a bit too much for just a simple dust effect. But this is interesting, I guess. So let's connect them up into the blend. There we go. And then the mask for this guy is obviously our dust generator. So drop this guy in here, and then the output goes into the base color. Woohoo! This looks interesting. And let's control the mask. So you can see in those ridges we get nice dark grease or whatever. And in the fonts, it's pretty cool. It's a bit too strong, so let's play around with some contrast and see how much we can push this. Not levels, increase contrast. There we go, that's interesting. Some dirt in the ridges, so let's increase the level a bit just to make this wider. Occlusion amount, that's cool. Way too strong, obviously, but the effect is nice. Noise opacity, what is that? Oh, it just introduces some minor noise. So let's reduce the contrast, just that it fades off more subtle. And I think this is a pretty cool effect. So let's see before and after. So if I just connect the same one to here, we should see the raw one without it. And then I connect it back in. And we can see we get nice details actually everywhere. So let's save this guy. We should actually control the roughness with this map as well if you want to. But it is very rough already, so we can just live with that. So this would be my paint. So let's see how this looks in 4K resolution. Alright, this is now the 4K maps. And we see some nice detail on the paint, definitely. And let's bring in the array renderer. Let's try to make this a bit bigger so we can see what we have for the paint layer. So this is now how I build up my shaders. So you can see this is the base paint, which represents these guys here. And the next one, which is a simple one, which will be this metal alloy at the bottom. So you can see it's very shiny, and it has a high frequency bump map. And mostly it has maybe some rust, which we can introduce. Maybe also some bleaching. I'm not sure if metal is really affected by sun bleaching. I'm not so sure. It might be. So that's things to consider and things to work with. So this is now the array render. So I think one thing which I'm missing still is some leaking paint, some I don't know, water leaking down from Y direction. So that's something I still want to introduce quickly. So to do that, I will create another mask, and this mask will be called, I think, leaks. Mask generators, dripping rust. No, I think there's something leaks. There we go. Let's just drag this guy in here and connect the mesh stuff. There it is. And the mesh, the leaks, it needs to have Y direction only, because they are like water's running down because of gravity and all that stuff, right? So this needs a input of position, which is a grayscale. So in the gradient, you can actually say how you want to merge those together, and the default is like 33% of each, but we just want green. Green is the Y direction, so we want no red, we want no blue, we would just want the green. So now we have a top-down effect. And the leaks will go into shininess, like roughness, and it will go into the diffuse or into the base color. So let's create another blend. And I think we can reuse this gradient map. We just colorize it again. So let's create a blend. And the same thing applies. Background here. And let's just create a hue set here and connect it. Let's just move these guys up and connect this from here and from here to here, and this guy goes into the base. There we go. And now we want to connect the mask. The mask goes right in here. And now something should be happening. Oh, we're actually working currently in 4K. Not sure if that is a good idea. I would expect to see some more leaks here. Let's just move down to 2K. Should be a bit faster. And then let's control the leaks map. And obviously we will change the color to some, I don't know, some greenish algae thingy, something. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And we want to add more contrast. And we want to add length to the leaks so we get longer drips. Not sure if it's working as I would expect it to. Well, something is running down here, which is nice, and here. Let's just see what we get. Levels. So definitely stuff running down there, but I don't see anything here, which is unfortunate. So it might be that it's not as working as expected. Well, something is here, which is also very interesting. That's cool. So for these circumstances, a substance painter would be more appropriate because you could actually paint on this surface using a particle brush and the whatever would flow down here. So we are limited to what the procedural gives us so far. So let's just bring in some contrast a bit more to get more defined lines. And anyways, let's just use this, which is still a very nice effect. So let's just change the color for this a bit. So we don't want this nice yellow. We just want something more dark and desaturated. Maybe a bit more greenish, too much green. So this looks, I think, better as leaks. It's maybe a bit much in the text, but for now, let's just live with that. And I like the drips on the sides here. I like this very much. This looks very cool. So this is the first part of the substance designer part. So this is the paint. The next one will be the alloy.